Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'arez.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. In 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good.
From the San Diego, California headquarters of the Institute for Creation Research, here are ICR scientists and Back to Genesis lecturers Dr. John D. Morris and Ken Ham.
John, you often say in your lectures that the eruption at Mount St. Helens was God's gift to creationists. What do you mean by that?
Ken, I really feel that Noah's flood is an all-important issue in resolving this creation-evolution question. You see, if Noah's flood happened the way the Bible says it happened, then it would have laid down the rocks and fossils that we study on the Earth's surface. But as creationist geologists, we have difficulty in comprehending what Noah's flood was like and the processes involved at the time. It was a catastrophe that totally restructured the surface of the Earth. Now, Mount St. Helens eruption was a lesser catastrophe, but in many ways it provides an analogy for Noah's flood.
And I personally believe that the evidence that Dr. Stephen Austin has researched at Mount St. Helens is some of the most startling and convincing creationists have against the idea of millions of years for the fossil and rock layers. Settle back for the explosive evidence from Mount St. Helens.
On May 18, 1980, a catastrophic geologic event occurred that not only shocked the world because of its explosive power, but it also challenged evolution theory at its foundation. That event was the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 in Washington State. I believe that the eruption of Mount St. Helens will be remembered as one of the most significant geologic events of our century. And when people look back on the 20th century and ask what was going on geologically to challenge the dogmatic teaching of evolution in our day, I believe one event is certain to come to people's attention, the eruption of Mount St. Helens. There in Washington State in 1980, in a very real and graphic way, a miniature laboratory was set up for the study of creation and catastrophe theory. In the next few minutes, I'd like to explain a little bit about what the volcanic eruption was like, relive the event by way of slides, the activity that we saw there, the photographic documentation, visit the places. We've overflown it with helicopters, that type of thing. Another thing I'd like you to know and understand is a little bit about what the volcano did in very short order. An incredible series of events was set up by this rather small volcanic eruption that challenge our way of thinking. And I'd like to apply what we have seen at Mount St. Helens and what you can see at Mount St. Helens to other geologic features of the Earth. Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, coal layers, that type of thing. Finally, I'd like to explore the implications of Mount St. Helens, what it says to you and me personally about our view of ourselves, view of the way the Earth works, and ultimately our view of God. Well, here's the way I remember Mount St. Helens before the eruption: 9,677 feet tall, a very symmetrical profile volcano. It had to be the most gorgeous place on the surface of the Earth. Absolutely beautiful. Spirit Lake there, directly north of the volcano. Just absolutely gorgeous. Here's what it looked like after the eruption. The volcano lost 1,300 feet of summit elevation on the morning of May 18th as 1/2 cubic mile of landslide material, summit and north slope, slid off the top of the mountain. 1/4 of the landslide material, or 1/8 of a cubic mile, slid down into the Spirit Lake Basin, displacing the water of the lake up to 860 feet above the pre-eruption level. That's right, a wave or series of waves went crashing up on the north shore of the lake, 3 football fields high. The lake sloshed back into its new basin with a dam at the southwest corner, showing us this a completely altered terrain. Simultaneously, 3/8 of a cubic mile of landslide material went down to the west, down the Toutle River drainage basin, and blocked that drainage area. The summit and north slope was like a giant cork holding down the volcano, holding down the pressure inside the volcano. As the summit and north slope left on the morning of May 18, 1980, super hot liquid water inside the volcano flashed to steam, somewhat like a soda pop bottle. You know, when you shake up the bottle with the cap still on the bottle, no fizzing occurs? Well, the same thing, except not carbon dioxide gas, but steam pressure. As the summit left, it released the pressure inside the volcano, and we had this northward directed steam blast equivalent to 20 million tons of TNT blast energy. It did not blow up into the air like volcanoes normally do. It blasted out northward over the landscape, and it leveled 150 square miles of forest in 6 minutes. Enough trees to build 640,000 three-bedroom homes. The northward directed steam blast was one of the most interesting aspects of the 1980 eruption. Here's the old profile, 9,677 feet tall. There's the new profile underneath it, 8,365 feet. It lost 1,300 feet of summit elevation on the morning of May 18th. This would not be the place to be standing on the morning of May 18th. It would ruin your whole day. 1/2 cubic mile of landslide material came directly at us, and then behind that, the steam blast equivalent to 20 million tons of TNT blast energy. Here's the first steam eruption. Remember, it came over the radio in the middle of March 1980. There was an earthquake directly under the mountain, and within a week, it was venting steam. On March 27, 1980, the steam issued from the top of the volcano. Then erupted volcanic ash, and here you see one of the first volcanic ash eruptions in March and April 1980. Here you see one of the last profile shots taken of Mount St. Helens. On the morning of May 18th, this incredible event occurred. During that 3-month period between the middle of March 1980 and the middle of May 1980, geologists had made a dreadful discovery. The north slope of the volcano was swelling at 3 to 5 feet a day. And during the last 3 days, May 15, May 16, and May 17, the geologists were making measurements that indicated that the north slope of the volcano was swelling at up to 50 feet a day. 50 feet a day. It would not be inappropriate to say that geologists knew that something was about to happen. Exactly what was a matter of considerable speculation among geologists. Well, you know the story. At 8:32 in the morning on May 18th, at 17 seconds after 8:32, there was a Richter magnitude 5.1 earthquake directly under the summit, which dislodged the summit and north slope of the volcano, and we had this enormous landslide, 1/2 cubic mile of material in this landslide, and then the steam blast that followed it. So happens it occurred in broad daylight, not a cloud in the sky, people in airplanes flying over the summit, people on the ground taking pictures of the whole experience. It was one of the most photographically documented transient events of history. Turns out that people were flying over the summit. Here's the summit crater that we saw just before the eruption. Here is the first rockfall evidence in the summit crater, the morning of May 18th. At 8:32, 17 seconds after 8:32, the earthquake energy reached the summit of the mountain. Keith and Dorothy Stoffel in a chartered plane were flying directly over the summit. They were making their third pass. They thought it was their final pass. It was logged to be their final pass. As they flew over the summit, nothing seemed to be happening. And then finally, they saw the rocks falling into the summit crater there at the top of Mount St. Helens at 17 seconds after 8:32 as the earthquake energy reached the summit of the mountain. So happens that Dorothy explained this to me. Dorothy Stoffel explained this to me just recently. She said as she looked down on the north slope of the volcano as the airplane was flying over, they saw something happen that was extraordinary. The whole north slope of the volcano right here began to undulate like the waves of the sea. And then all of a sudden there seemed to be like a zipper opening up from the bottom of the volcano toward the top. The whole north slope began to slide, and then the steam blast came out of the volcano. Here you see the steam blast as it's occurring. The airplane, fortunately, was not flying north over the north slope of the volcano. It was flying from west to east over the north slope. Here we are looking back to the west over the north slope of the volcano. The landslide, the north slope has already slid away, and here's the beginning of the steam blast, equivalent to 20 million tons of TNT blast energy. Not going up, but northward over the landscape. On the ground, a geologist named Keith Ronholm was taking these photographs 10 miles northeast of the volcano. 10 miles northeast of the volcano, a place called Bear Meadows. And Keith Ronholm had these cameras on his tripod, and he clicked this picture. The airplane is up there in the upper left-hand corner, invisible at the 10-mile distance. But here you see the beginning of the steam blast. The landslide has already left and is on the other side of that ridge, that first ridge right there, and the wave is occurring in the lake. Here's the second ridge, and he is standing on the third ridge.